Hey guys, hope you are all doing well this morning. So, I wanted to do like a little, I don't know, call it a PSA, I guess. And this is about nothing else that I talk about in my life. This is not about feeding faith. This is not about not even wine with dinner or sobriety or missions or anything like that. This is about child safety. And that might seem weird coming from me, given that I'm like a 50 something year old who has adult stepchildren. But it's something that I have seen before. And because we are in the mission field and we deal with lots of kids, obviously, it's always on my heart. But somebody that I follow on Instagram posted today a thing about child safety, and they were talking about kind of the whole stranger danger thing about kids having to keep, like, never having kids keep secrets, never having kids do small tasks that make them think it's okay for another adult to ask them to do those small tasks. My thing, this just sparked something in me that happened like over a year ago, probably, but it still resonated with me when she was talking about it. And I wanted to put it out there because this is also something that I see a lot within my feeds. Okay, so child safety online. I follow call him an influencer. He's an author, actually. His name is Jonathan Haidt, and he posts a lot of stuff about child safety. He's been heavily in Congress trying to get the social media laws changed. He wrote the book, The Anxious Generation. This didn't even come from him, but I follow a lot of his stuff as well. So I know that it mimics the same tone. But for parents, when you're posting your children online, you need to be aware that it's not just going out to your friends. There is probably somebody who's a friend of a friend or an acquaintance or somebody sharing something so that strangers are seeing your children. And while this is not like my problem, what happened to me, I think it was last year, and this is not calling out one specific person because I know quite a few people who do this. I know several parents who have smaller children and teenage and preteen, whatever, like under 16s, we'll say, from kids, from babies, all the way up. They post all their pictures online and they tell all the information about their kids. And so what happened was I was in a location, and one of the people that I know, and it's more of an acquaintance, I guess. She's a friend, but she's more of an acquaintance. One of her kids walked in and he was by himself, and I said, "Oh, hi, so and so." And he looked at me and his eyes got like this big, and he kind of looked around and he ran off. And I kind of at first thought, well, that's weird. And I went about my business, and it was like this light bulb went off, and I thought, oh my gosh, this kid does not know who I am, but I know everything about him, and he's never met me before. How scary is that? So, talking about stranger danger, this kid had no idea who I was, and I'm there saying hi and calling him out by name, and he's like, oh my gosh. And this is the problem with social media, is when you're posting your children online and you're giving all this information, you're exposing them, you're exploiting them in a way. And I'm not trying to be negative, and I'm not trying to call anybody out and make you feel bad, but this is about the safety of your children. I said to the mother when I saw her later, I was like, oh my gosh, I realized, you know what? I see all this stuff online, but I'm like, he's never met me. He doesn't know who I am. And when I think about it, it's like, I know his name. I know what he does in school. I know what he likes. I know what he doesn't like. I know what food he eats. I know what pet is his favorite. I mean, I know so much. And it's not just one child, it's all the children. And my other friends, it's like other people now. It's like, oh, so and so likes this. And there are a lot of people in my feed who are, friends from our church that we were going to in Florida, and other friends from other parts of the country that are having babies. And when you're posting all this stuff about what your baby eats and what your baby doesn't like and what your baby watches, you're going to continue to do that, I'm going to guess. Just be very careful. One statistic that I have read multiple times, if you're posting about your children, especially if they're girls, and you have any kind of, the internet is public. Even if you think you have all the private settings, the internet is public. This one's terrifying, but basically, if you've got small children, especially girls, and you post all these stuff online, your male readership goes up exponentially. That's creepy. I'm just going to leave that there. A lot of people are on Instagram and they think, oh, it's private. And I get it. You have to, request somebody. But how many of us have Facebook or Instagram friends that we don't really know? They're people that we've followed for so long, or we had like things in common. And now all of a sudden we're friends with them. We don't know them. They're strangers. And so you're exposing your children. Okay, so with all this said, I don't mean to ramble on, but obviously here in the mission field, we share a lot of photos of kids. When we are in the community, we let people know we're taking pictures. When we go into someone's house, we do not take pictures without asking permission. And we try really hard not to, I'm not saying it's never happened, so please don't call me out too much, but we try not to say exactly where we are when we're there, because there's danger, just as much danger here as there is anywhere else. When you're calling people out, or, we try to be very careful what we do share about people, and especially about calling kids out by name. I don't think we do that. We try not to say, oh, this is Jose or Manuel. We try not to do that, because you're exposing somebody else's child when you do that. I don't care where you are. And it's not just first world countries, but here, people have smartphones. It's not the luxury people think it is anymore. It is a commonplace thing. And I want to explain this. Smartphones here are not, I know I already said it, they're not a luxury. You might have a village where one person has a flip phone and it's kind of like a community phone, or one person in the house does. But the smartphone is obviously taking over from that. And people don't have monthly packages the way a lot of us do, because they can't afford it. What they do is they go buy SIM cards. They go buy minutes, kind of like we did back in the 90s, I guess, where you could buy minutes on your plan, or minutes on a card, or telephone cards. And people buy packages and they have a phone, but within that package now, how crafty is this? Like here we have two main carriers. You have Tigo and Claro, and both of them, your package will include like 10 gigabytes of data, unlimited minutes, and unlimited Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. So you are not only just exposing the first world to it, you're exposing the third world and the developing countries to social media. And the scary part about that as well is that the idea of fake news is not really present here. So basically, if it's online, it's believed. And I see so much scary stuff that gets shared. And again, coming back to the children, be careful what you post. I used to think it was janky and weird when people would post pictures of their family and then the child would have like an emoji of a smiley face over their face. And now I realize that that's the best possible thing they could do. That's just my unsolicited middle-aged woman opinion, but it just, like I said, it sparked me when I said, oh, hi, so-and-so, to a small child who didn't know who I was, and I know a lot about his life. And, I'm a good woman. I'm not going to utilize that information for bad, but be careful, because you just don't know who's watching and who's paying attention. So that's my PSA. Thank you for my TED Talk, and I'll talk to you guys later. God bless.